Hello, it's Max McAllister, back with Cycle with Max. I'm going to do a couple videos here on a little bit more advanced drafting techniques, some things you can apply to make drafting more interesting and fun while you're spending that time out on the road doing those miles. And so one of the topics we want to talk about is wind, and as related to drafting, and a term they call echeloning in cycling. And so echeloning is the act of a group of cyclists positioning themselves in an organized fashion to protect themselves from the wind. Now, as typical group cyclists, we don't get to actually employ this technique the way you'll see professionals doing it during big grand tours and big organized pro races on television, because they're on controlled roadways that are close to motorized traffic. So they can actually, if they're in crosswinds, engage this technique and use the whole road surface. As a normal group of road cyclists, we're confined to a two-abreast riding on the side of the right-hand side of the road, and so there's not much you can do to use this technique. But so just to kind of talk the big picture, if it's a calm day and we're riding in straight down the road, we're pushing into the wind, and so we're trying to organize ourselves so that we hit the least wind with our face as the riders in the line. We're trying to minimize the number of the riders doing the work, So now, that's if we're just moving into a neutral air, there's no wind. Obviously, if there's a headwind, it's much harder on the lead rider. And if there's a tailwind, hey, we're all happy, nobody cares about tailwinds, that's just great. But now, so let's say there's a wind coming, directly at the side of our bikes, perpendicular to our bikes. If we could, you'd want to line up this way. You'd want your bike here if the wind was coming from where your point of view is as the camera. But now let's go over here, Mr. Cameraman, at about 45 degrees. So now here's the wind. All right, if the wind is here, I'm going to position myself as a rider out of that wind. I'm just going to find the angle of the wind. You can feel it on your face as you ride. Feel the pressure across your face where the wind comes from, and feel it on your body. And you want to find the quiet spot, the place where there's the least wind pushing on you. So you can come forward and you'll start hearing more noise, you'll start feeling more pressure. You can back up, you'll start hearing more noise. But there'll be one place where there's the least pressure and the least noise, and it'll be the easiest, and you'll sense that you're putting out less effort. Now, if you had 5 or 6 cyclists, again, we don't normally get to employ an echelon technique as recreational cyclists. But what you can do is just use whatever little bit you can. Now, normally cyclists, if this is our lead rider and he's on the right-hand stripe of the road, most cyclists are going to echelon away from the edge of the road. And I talked about this earlier. There's no rule. You don't have to go all the way out to the yellow line. A lot of beginners you'll see do that. The line just always goes further out to the left. You can be the first cyclist that echelons back to the right. Now, so we're pointing out an instance where the camera is the wind. This is in our benefit to be slightly off to the left-hand side of the rider in front of us. But now, all we have to do is pretend that the wind is slightly coming from our left, going over there to that side. Now, you'll still see beginner and intermediate cyclists all just continue riding down the road, echeloned out to the left the way they're just doing. But a cyclist who's paying attention will feel that wind, and you're going to come to this side of that rider. Now, you're still riding on the right-hand side of the road safely, but you're saving energy, right? And again, you're going to watch people behind you will stack out that way. Okay, they're just not paying attention. So this is a good way for you to use the wind and play with the wind and conserve some energy while riding in a line of bikes. So there's another tip for the day. Please subscribe to my channel, and we'll be back with another video soon.